Reports of the death of the Capital Markets Union are exaggerated. Recent data shows that there was never a better time for funds to widen their market presence in Europe. Today we look at assets under management and OTC markets in Europe in 2025. The Capital Markets Union was never a small feat. Mobilizing savings across Europe and channeling them to the single market for capital is not something that could have happened overnight, nor it could be expected that the complex paradigm of investment culture and consumer behavior in Europe shifted merely on the base of new rules for the offer cross-border of investment funds. The Capital Markets Union came from the outset with an element of comparison with the state of the capital markets in the USA. And where the American model remains the best example Europeans can aspire to for their capital markets, only recently European authorities came to better terms with the implications of the profound differences between the American and European pension system when it comes to capital markets activities. Part of the reason why American households invest more into capital markets is because they don't have a public pension system where they unknowingly contribute to, and they had to take care of their retirement needs otherwise for quite a long time now. This in turn created a much different investment culture in the US, where Americans are necessarily much more financially literate compared to their European peers. At the other end of the spectrum, there are industry participants. The success of the Capital Market Union is directly proportional to embedding the principles of the Cross-Border Distribution Directive within the operations of European distribution of fund houses operating in Europe. We estimate that at least 70% of fund houses currently operating in Europe did not implement the Cross-Border Distribution Directive yet in their operation for European distribution. Their resources are misallocated, and that affects their ability to be present properly in certain pivotal markets in Europe. The verdict of European policymakers on the Capital Markets Union is clear and has been out there for quite some time now. There is already a new union on its way to replace the old one. But data from industry association, EFAMA in particular, on the composition of assets under management in the fund industry in Europe tells a different and more encouraging story. According to the EFAMA Asset Management Report for 2024, the percentage of foreign clients in European funds has grown steadily from 29.7% in 2019 to 32.6% in 2023. Foreign clients are fund investors not resident or domiciled in the same member state of establishment of a European investment fund. The Capital Markets Union aimed exactly at increasing cross-border operation of investment funds. If data is telling us that the number of foreign clients in investment funds has been constantly on the rise, that means the Capital Markets Union, ladies and gentlemen, is actually working, but not to its maximum capacity though. And that is because foreign investors are using their local investment channels to purchase these investment funds from other member states. And they are not actually venturing outside their national borders to scout for investment opportunities, which would represent the ultimate success when it comes to deeply integrated European capital markets. And data is giving us also another indication of the success of the Capital Markets Union. The results from the same report from EFAMA show that the retail share of European assets under management rose from 26% to 30.8% since 2019. This is in line with the aims of the Capital Markets Union to boost the participation of European households to capital markets. But the effects of the Capital Markets Union are not spreading evenly across Europe. Momentum in household purchases of investment funds continued, mostly in selected domicile in Europe. According to the EFAMA report for Q1 2025, Germany, Italy and Spain are the best performing European domiciles. Germany recorded 15.1 billion euros in combined usage and AIF net sales, more than any other European market. Spain posted 10.6 billion euros in net inflows, and Italy added 4.4 billion euros, signaling a rebound in household allocation to funds. How does the playbook change in 2025 for all the fund houses willing to tap into the growing retail market in Europe? If the Capital Markets Union is working, fund managers can no longer ignore the rules introduced in Europe to facilitate the attainment of the goals of deepening the single market. In other words, if you want to raise your AUMs in Europe in 2025, you better play by the book. Here we are referring to the rules introduced under the Cross-Border Distribution Directive. More namely, the new regime of the local facilities under Article 92 UCITS Directive. Fund managers who are willing to take a bigger share of the retail market in Europe can no longer afford to waste their marketing budget allocating resources to comply with outdated requirements, like the physical local premises in each European member state they distribute their funds. The first step for them is to transition to a digital delivery of the local facilities across all member states in Europe where this is a possibility, so that resources are freed and can be allocated to the markets that require different skills and toolsets. And the importance of allocated resources wisely is confirmed by the trends identified in the EFAMA asset management reports we just mentioned. The three hottest markets in Europe, according to EFAMA, Italy, Germany and Spain, are all markets where playing to win means something more than merely obtaining a local marketing authorization and be present on a fund platform. These are all markets where there are more subtle barriers to entry, including language barriers. Fund houses that continue to deliver success in these markets are the ones that have availability and can deploy the right set of skills, including language skills, to be able to forge the right relationships with local wholesalers and distribution platforms. Italy and Spain are also markets where there are more regulatory hurdles to overcome. The nuisances of local laws and distribution practices make the appointment of a local entity very hard to avoid, making this also more expensive market to penetrate compared to others across Europe. And if you want to know more about the nuisances of fund distribution in Italy, there is a video on the channel where we talk specifically about that. Here is where having an efficient and lean cross-border model for distribution allows you to invest more resources where it is required. And that does not necessarily have to be at the expense of maintaining a wider market presence, with speculative positioning also in other markets where retail exposure to investment funds can increase next. And if you made it up to this part of the video, I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to invite you to hit like to the video and subscribe to the channel. There is much more to come on European distribution. As always, thank you for watching and stay tuned.